Tonight, I want to talk to you about, Pastor, why do you mostly talk to the women? Pamela Crumbly's watching. Angela Smith says, first time. Dual Victory, producer of my radio show, is on tonight. And I'm going to share something special from her later on. So the topic tonight is, Pastor, why do you mostly talk to the women? I want to say this because there's so much to this. And I think many of you already know why. I think I've shared it many times why I talk to women mostly. And do men need instruction? Yes. Do men need guidance? Yes. Do men need to be taught certain things? Yes. The answer is yes all across the board. But you have to look at our makeup and who we are as men. A lot of times we as men, it's hard for us to be in a place where we can accept instruction, particularly when it's pertaining to how to deal with a woman. A lot of times you've got to catch that when they're young, when they are a child, somebody's job. The mom, you've got sons, you're rearing your sons, you're raising them. That's the time you get to them. The men, we get with our children. We try to talk to them and try to instill in them while they are young. That means everything. Catching them while they are young. I remember when watching kids being birthed, and their head was it wasn't shaped right. The doctor would basically sort of press and shape their heads after they were just born, because that's the time when you can actually get their head to really get into how you want to shape it there. It's David Massey's on, Pastor David Massey. He's my co-host on my radio show. That's the time, when they're soft and you're able to deal with them. With clay, you deal with clay, and to make the shapes that you need to make. Thank you. Minister Stephanie Kimber Hooper said molding before it hardens. It's hard, y'all. And it takes God. It takes a man to get to the place where they can accept from God, and God can minister to them. If they're not in a place, they won't let anybody minister to them. That's why there's more women in church. Many of you have said that already. There are more women in church than men. Women are just at a place, for the most part. And I'm not just saying all across the board, because there's some stubborn women out there. But in terms of your makeup, as a rib, God made you we got somebody from Bahamas watching. God made you in a certain way, so that way you're willing to receive, and this is for the most part. Again, there are some stubborn women out there. But I want to share this with you so you can understand this, okay? I want you to stay with me. Why would you talk to the women? Why do you talk to the men? Why won't you talk to the men? Why won't you talk to the women? Watch this. If you had a class for thieves that actually broke into people's houses to try to give them instruction to stop stealing, none of them would attend the class. All right, you missed it right there. If you gave a class, you put it in a newspaper, free class, all for people who steal, for people who break into people's houses. We want you to come to this class. We're going to teach you or give you the principles to stop breaking in and taking people's stuff. People are not going to attend class like that. But we see every day in commercials, it's better off to teach people how to protect their homes with security systems. Oh, you missed it. You missed it. You missed it. That's why we're going to the women at this point. Again, a thief wants goods. A thief wants things they don't pay for. Now, I'm not saying men are thieves. I'm saying the nature, the sin nature. Those that are not redeemed have a sin nature to take what doesn't belong to them. You can have as many seminars as you want to try. Thank you, Dewey Upshur. He said good analogy. You can have as many seminars as you want for thieves to try to teach them not to steal. They're not coming to that class. They don't want to hear it. Now, if you had a class to teach them how to be better thieves, they might attend those classes. If there's no repercussions, they don't get arrested or anything like that. You don't take the fingerprints, the information. They might attend a seminar like that. Thank you, Darryl. But they're not going to attend a seminar that's going to. So you got to go to the homeowner. Oh, you missed it. Oh, Lord have mercy. You've got to go to the homeowner and teach them better habits at protecting their home. That's why I'm speaking to the women. You are a complex. You all are the ones that are being entered into spiritually, physically. There's a whole aisle at the supermarket dedicated to you all. There's no aisle at the supermarket dedicated for men. This is how complex you are. A whole aisle is dedicated. A whole aisle is for women and things that take care of women. You got to go to the gatekeepers. Now's the time, and this is why we do. Homeowners, again, all the commercials on TV are for homeowners to get better security systems, cameras, alarms, window guards, all of these things to protect the home. You go to the homeowner, can't go to the thieves. Are men thieves? I'm not saying men are thieves. I'm a man myself, okay? But the spirit, the enemy, wants to use the men to come in, and if they're not redeemed, to steal, kill, and destroy. So they're not going to listen. They don't want to hear it. Sex is good, and it feels good. So you're not going. How are you going to have? Who's going to listen? That's in that nature to say, we're going to teach you to stop having, you can stop having sex. They're not coming to a class like that. They're not interested in that. If they have not been redeemed, they don't have a mind to be redeemed. And remember, you got folk in church who are well off in the word. They're well versed. They know the word better than you and I do, but they're still predators. So if you can't get the folk that's in the church, the pastors, I wish I had somebody, Deacon O'Malley, Trustee Williams, if you can't get any of them to focus in and stop doing it, how in the world are you going to get the world to do it? So the best thing to do is to go to the homeowner. We go to the homeowner because you are the ones with the valuables that can be taken. We go to the homeowner because you are the ones that have something to protect. We go to the homeowner. We go to you women. Thank you, Tanya Coons. Good to see you. We go to the woman because, watch this, you are the ones that have to give birth. All right. Men drop off a seed, but you're the ones that have to carry and give birth. And this is one of the reasons why the enemy wants to keep you disillusioned and keep you from understanding the concept of protecting yourself. Now, I'm going to say something here, and I'm just going to put it out there. When I do posts, I hate to say the word hate, but it bothers me when folks say, and vice versa. They type in, I'm talking to the woman about something specific, and you say, oh, yeah, and vice versa. You know what? That makes sense. Yes, it goes well across the board. But when you go that and vice versa, now that takes a little weight off the actual subject that I'm trying to get at. I'm talking to the women right now, all right? And when a lot of my posts, when I'm talking either to men or women specifically, if I'm talking to the men, I don't need the women to jump on and say, and vice versa. No, don't take the heat off the actual subject. There's a reason why I'm talking specifically to the men. There's a reason why I'm talking specifically to the women. Don't say and vice versa. Let's stay with who we're talking about. When the subject is on you, you've got to deal with it. And let's not look at anybody else. Let's look at who we're going to the homeowners. We're not talking about the thieves right now. We're going to the homeowners and teaching them how to protect your home, how to keep the valuables of your soul intact, how to keep you from allowing the enemy from taking what belongs to you and belongs to your future husband. So instead of casting pearls before swine, let's present them to those who actually wear them. Oh, you missed it. All right, let me say that again. So instead of casting pearls before swine, just throwing out, trying to educate that spirit of a man, why don't, instead of casting those pearls before swine, not going to appreciate them, why don't we present the pearls to the people who actually wear them? And those are you. Oh, Lord, you missed it. In the movie Lean on Me, as principal, Joe Clark knew that he couldn't train the drug dealers that were bringing drugs into the school. He knew that would be a waste of time. It was just voluminous amount of drugs and people in the area, But what he had to really realize he could do is to protect the school. Oh, I wish I had somebody here. Because the drug dealers, you could talk to them all day. But the thing was to protect the school, because the drug dealers were in a place they would not listen. So he had to chain the doors to keep them out. Oh, I wish I had somebody. And women, you are the school. Oh, you're not hearing me. You are the place now where men have to come to get their education. Oh, Lord, help. I wish I had somebody. You must chain the doors of the learning institution of your soul. Let me tell you this. If you sleep with them, they now have access to your blood. If you sleep with them, and now this is vice versa as well. It goes both ways. But I'm just telling you to protect yourself, because they have to enter in. If you sleep with them, they now have a possibility to access your blood. Now, many of you try to outsmart the system and say, we wear condoms. Condoms pop. Herpes can still be transferred even when you have a condom, because you're bumping and pressing up against the genital areas. And if that person has it, even with a condom, okay? Now again, condoms pop. The enemy's in the room. Again, you can end up getting whatever they have. It's that serious. You should be insulted if a man can make up his mind to sleep with you, but he can't make up that same mind to want to marry you. All right, I'm going to say that again. You ought to be insulted if a man could make up his mind, and thank you, Tanya Kuntz, as well as AIDS and HIV. You should be insulted if a man can make up his mind to lay down with you and go to bed, to share, to risk the possibility of sharing fluids and DNA and all of that, to risk the possibility of whatever you got inside and whatever they got inside, to risk that. But they can't, they don't want to marry you. They can't seem to make up their mind. Car dealers have now gotten hip to the game. There was a time when you could test drive, or you could pull up to the lot. You ain't had to fill out nothing. They just saw you Hey, how you doing, Mr. So-and-so? And you can just test drive any car you want. Those days are over, dog. Now, car dealers have gotten hip to the game. They won't let you test drive an expensive car until they know that you can qualify to own one. Or you missed it. And I'm going to let that speak for itself. One thing about the spirit of someone who is in a predatory nature, we've often called men dogs, even though there's female dogs and there are male dogs. Dogs love raw bones. Stay with me. Because cooked bones, they always say if you're going to feed a dog, feed him a raw bone. But cooked bones splinter, and they can actually choke the dog. That's why I've said over and over to you women, to make sure that you are totally cooked and done in your spirit. Remember I talked about the Easy Bake Oven? You know, Tanya said drop the mic. I talked about the Easy Bake Oven and putting out products that were not fully cooked and people get sick from them. You know, that's what I'm telling you. I'm going to the homeowner to make sure you are complete. You're the ones that we have to go to now. The men, you know, we're praying and we understand, but we've got to go to the homeowner now to protect your home. You got to make sure that you are well done in your spirit. This is why you need to grow spiritually, mentally. You need to grow spiritually, mentally, you know, in order to be fully cooked. Because completely cooked in your spirit, mature and complete. Because it's the raw bones that the dog loves to go after. Oh. It's the raw bone that the dog seeks. It's those that are, and this is why you've got to protect yourself, because the person, say you let somebody in your life, they dogged you out. You were totally empty inside. All right. You are now a raw bone. Now you're more attractive to those dogs because they know they can eat you and there's no consequence. But if they try to eat a cooked bone, again, cooked bones splinter and they will hurt the dog. The dog ain't about being hurt. So they're looking for raw bones. You got to look at yourself. And that's why I told you the danger, you know, when somebody has dogged you out, you know, and has messed you up to the point where you're raw in your spirit, you need a minute to build yourself back up. You need a minute to fully get yourself together and to be fully cooked before the dog comes along. So that way, again, the dogs love raw bones. We're going to the woman. Proverbs 6:32 says, but whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacks understanding, and he that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. Proverbs 12:4 says, a virtuous woman, okay? Don't go and vice versa, all right? That's not what this is. You can't put the vice versa on this. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. Oh, Lord have mercy. So that means that you have to be the one to protect yourself. A house that is ransacked by thieves ain't really worth much because they've already come and they've taken all of the valuables, all the goods out. So you have to be virtuous. You have to do things. In order to be virtuous, that means you've got to protect yourself. The man doesn't help you to be virtuous. You've got to be virtuous on your own. That's why we're going to the women. You're the ones that have to say yes, yay, nay. You're the ones, you know, and that's why we have to go to you to teach you to be better protectors of your home. We've got to enhance your security system so that thieves cannot break in. Nobody's breaking in Fort Knox because the way that it is built. And you must now, again, don't worry about the men. Don't worry about us talking about the men. Worry about yourselves and in terms of what we're trying to teach you. You remember in the movie Coming to America, there was no instruction for Akeem in terms of him. And there was no instruction about him. He was sleeping with his bathers. He was out, he could do whatever he wanted to do. But when they presented the woman to him, this woman had been taught, I wish I had somebody, from birth, how to present herself in order to marry royalty. There was no vice versa there. Again, you women are special. There's a reason why we're looking to you to protect yourselves. This woman had to be presenting herself. So it says here, a virtuous woman, Proverbs 12:4, is a crown to a husband. That's something that a crown is something that's on the outside that everybody can see. A man needs to be able to be proud. Again, I know you're thinking, oh, this is so double standard. But women, again, worry about who God made you to be. You know the world is a double standard. When women, you often have to accept men who have had 20 partners in their lifetime. You kind of even look at it and say, okay, well, he's a man. He's been a man. But you sit down and tell a man that you had 20 partners. Now, all of a sudden, he got a problem with it, even though he's a hypocrite. It's hypocritical. It is hypocritical. But now he's got a problem with the 20. He's got a problem with one. I mean, you say hello to somebody in the supermarket or Walmart, like, who that so-and-so? You been with him? You've been with, you see how that is? It says a virtuous woman, something you wear on the outside. The crown is a crown to a husband. But she that maketh ashamed, if you've been out all, again, not being wise, or you've been all over town, it says here, it is as rottenness in his bones. I want to read you a message from Dual Victory. Dual Victory is my producer for my radio show. She's actually on with us right now. And she wrote me something to share with you all. Let me read this to you. Greetings, Pastor Cherry. As women, we're treated most often based on what we do and say. Men will treat us appropriately or inappropriately. This is brilliant already. Based on our standards. I'm saying that again. As women, we're treated most often based on what we do and say. Men will treat us appropriately or inappropriately based on our standards. Ladies, we're coming to you because you have to set the standards. Joe Clark chained those doors because he was creating a standard for the inside, for the learning institution. It's time to lock the doors and to protect women. The men got to come to you. You know what? I'm coming back to this duel. The men, they have to come to you. That's the other reason why I talk to you versus the men. Because they've got to come back to, they've got to come through you. They don't want to listen. If they don't want to listen on the street, they don't want to listen in church. They don't want to listen to their dad and their mom, their auntie, their grandmother. If they don't want to listen to any of that, it does. You know what? They're going to eventually have to come to you. And the reason why men walk around with such an ego on their shoulder, and why some men do what they do and say what they say to you, is because there have been other women who have not protected their house. There are some women who don't have a security system in their house, the knowledge that they need to get. Your knowledge and the things that you get into your spirit is your security system. If you don't have a good security system, you're going to be violated. You're going to be robbed. And once you're robbed, thank you, Dual, you're not going to be worth as much as you were if nobody broke in. When they break in, you got to break through stuff, and that damages the property. So that's the reason. Your standards. Now, she said, nowadays it takes little to nothing to obtain a woman's virtue and her heart. I'm reading this fresh. I haven't read this before, and everything she's saying is where I'm going. So I'm just so Duelist is right on point. Nowadays, it takes little to nothing. I actually just said that in a roundabout way, because I said that because men have this ego, because they're going by their previous experience, they realize they could just say a couple of things to a woman, and if you're cute, you got something going on. A lot of times you can sleep with a woman on the first night, boom, boom, boom. There's not, she don't, oh, yes, oh, she go by whatever, the little bit of stuff that you tell her you love her, you like her, or whatever, and the woman is floored. Because of those women who have weak security systems, because of the women who are raw bones that most men have run into, they think they can go to all women. This is how, I was getting ready to go into politics. I'm not going to go into politics. But this is how a lot of the politicians are being caught up right now. And this is why they have cases on them. There are lawsuits and people that have come out on them like never before. Even Russell Simmons. We just heard Russell Simmons been caught up. These people are telling, women are telling more than ever now. They're just talking about all of the people who are doing things. They had a special about Bill Clinton, and all of that, Monica Lewinsky and all of that. And the thing is, there are cases with all of these men that have been accused. Russell Simmons, the president, Roy Moore, my man Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer. I mean, we can go on and on and on. The cases with these guys, there are women who were consensual that we'll never hear about. It was consensual. It'll never reach the light of day. But the enemy has gotten to the point that when you're famous, we already know, people will sleep with you. There are so many people that have slept with them that'll never reach the light of day because it was consensual, because they loved who they were, they were famous. So people will sleep with famous people. And the famous people, that's how rampant this spirit is. The famous people are not content with the women who are more than willing to give them their body. Bill Cosby, they weren't content. And Bill Cosby had a lot of affairs that were women. I mean, it was consensual. I know people have actually come to me and said, you know what, yeah, I slept with Bill Cosby. We were friends. He called me. And he said, meet me. And these are young girls, too. Some of these, not minors, but young people. Said, call me, meet me over at such and such town, or what I'm going to do in a show. And she said, I spent the weekend with Bill Cosby. There's plenty of those cases. But I want you to see how rampant this is. There's something behind the spirit of theft that turns the enemy on. All of these people that have been accused have had plenty of women and plenty of women who are willing to sleep with them for free. They don't even have to work at it. And they're sleeping with those women. But that ain't even good enough for that spirit. They're looking for the raw bones. Oh, all right. They're looking for the raw bones, and they're trying to get people who have not shown them that they want them. That's how evil this spirit is. And they're taking it for granted because of the women who so freely gave themselves. And that's why, as a woman, you have got to stop it. We're going to the school, we're going to the learning institution to teach you to lock your doors. If the drug dealers all know that all the doors are locked, they're going to have to look somewhere else to sell their drugs. They know they can't come to the school because the school is locked. The school is locked. Women, the school is locked. Once it's locked, now you can get back to re-educating and educating yourself, educating your body. Oh, Lord, help me. You can't let your flesh dictate. Most of these women in these shows, I mean, you know all these shows, Meet Mary Jane and all those shows where the folks are sleeping around. There's no education going on in their spirit, and also, thank you, Rob Fields, in their body. You've got to educate your body. When I was dating my wife, I had to come to the point where I said, you know what? I'm not violating this woman I'm going to marry. I'm going to educate my body. I'm going to lock the doors. I'm going to lock the doors and keep the education from being messed up in the learning institution. One thing I also want to say about the movie Lean on Me. One of the things that Morgan Freeman did. Now, the vice president of the school said, well, that was the easy part. But it was scandal. Yeah, that's another show. But it was critical. Often when you let people in, remember the graffiti that was on the walls of the school? There was graffiti all on the walls of the school. The graffiti changed the message and ended up tainting the minds of those who wanted to go to class. Before you even got to your class, there was the graffiti from the enemy teaching you what the enemy wanted you to know before you even entered into your class. That's why one of the first things he did was to get them to paint over, oh, I wish I had somebody, the graffiti, in order so that your message, your mind and your spirit be clear until you get into class and get the proper teaching that you're supposed to get. The enemy wants to break in, ladies, these songs, these TV shows, the language, wants to break in to educate you by putting things on the walls of your spirit. And it happens the same thing when you have sex with a man. When he enters into you, things are going into the walls, I wish I had somebody, of your spirit. Okay? And watch this. And the enemy is trying to taint the walls of your spirit. So that's where those same walls, physically, if you look at your anatomy, are the same walls that a child has to come through. Oh, Lord have mercy. That a birth has to take place. You taint those walls. You allow folk to come in. This is a spiritual thing. To taint those walls. Now, it starts a repetitive pattern. You know, a child has to come through and has to walk through. Oh. So that's why he made sure those walls were painted. So the message of education would not be distorted. Ladies, walls have been tainted. And the message, the graffiti that's on the walls is, if we're in a relationship, it's okay for us to have sex. You know it's not okay, but it's okay. It's not right for the church, but it's okay for us to have, it's okay for us to be together. Many of us are so jacked up with the writing that's on the walls. We go to church. It was first Sunday yesterday. Some of you take communion on first Sunday. You take communion. Later Sunday night, you get with your boyfriend, and he gets and there's no chain on the doors, and he can enter right on in. Think about that. You took Holy Communion, and you didn't even wait till Monday. Sunday night, the walls were already tainted, and he was able to enter in, because the writing on the wall says, if we're in a relationship, it's okay. The graffiti on the walls say, if my body is saying it. And how many songs have we heard? R. Kelly, how many songs have we heard? If my body's asking for it, then I need to go ahead on and give my body the sexual healing that it's asking for. When I get that feeling, it's time for the sexual healing. All of that is on the walls. So you never get a chance by reading, because you're reading all the graffiti on the walls. You never get a chance to make it in the class spiritually to get the education that you need. Education is what's going to help you. You teach the spirit. When I was single, again, when I was dating my wife, I had to teach my spirit by the word of God. I had to educate. I had to lock the enemy out, would put chains on the doors. So I'm not going there. I'm going to shut out all outside things, and I'm going to concentrate on educating my soul and my spirit so that I may be able to make better decisions. My spirit, again, the mind is the door to your spirit, and that's why the enemy starts there. All right, let me go on what Dual Victory wrote here. Nowadays, it takes little to nothing to obtain a woman's virtue and her heart. You got to fix that. You got to fix that. If you're a raw bone, if there's nothing there, if you're not fully cooked, you're going to attract the dogs. They know they can get down on a raw bone and not get it caught in their throat. She said, and I believe this is one of the reasons why men aren't getting married anymore. Why men aren't seeking wives anymore. It's because women are so freely giving of themselves, giving of their temples, their bodies, without any regards of the repercussion of their souls and the ties that are surely to bind. Dual Victory, this is brilliant right here. This is brilliant. Okay, did y'all get that? You might have to go back and replay, but I'm going to say it one more time. And I believe this is one of the reasons why men aren't getting married anymore, why men aren't seeking wives anymore. Seriously, you meet men now, and things can be going well and great. You're talking to them, and you're like, and when it's time to start talking about something more serious, now all of a sudden they can't make a decision. They're trying to hang in there long enough. It's just about pressing flesh. It's about I just want to get in and steal your goods. I'm kind of hoping that your home security system isn't up to date. I'm kind of hoping that it's not on point so I can get in there, steal the valuables, and keep it moving. I'm not committing to your house. I'm not, I just want to, I'm hit and run. And ladies, the longer you date, we can watch this. In 3 weeks, we're going into another year. Think about this. Where are you at in your relationship now with this person? Some of you are living together. You're not married. You're living together, and nothing has changed. I mean, this person hasn't made any commitment to want to get married to you. I mean, there's no date. And you just sleeping with them, and it's just, you really need to think about this. Think about all the precautions that you have to take to guard your learning institution. So Dual Victory wrote this. She said, a man can literally utter those 3 words or not, and a woman will give of herself before asking God anything. A lot of times, and I've done it myself, I don't ask God certain things about certain people because my spirit wasn't right about it anyway. I just planned it. I saw a school with the doors open, and I just want to get in, plant some graffiti, sell some drugs, plant, and get what I want and get my money, and I'm on my business. Many times we don't consult God because we already know our spirit's not right, and we already know that we're not right in it. We can't go to God on stuff that's not right anyway. We look at you look at a man, you're like, oh, he is so sexy. Oh my goodness. Look at him. Look at his six pack. Look at his lips. Look at that man's body, man. He is so, oh my goodness. Yeah, I wonder how he is. I'm just going to go ahead on and, you're not going to seek God for that, because you see something that's inviting and you're already unlocking the chains, locking the chains you're just putting the chains down so the person can come in. A man can literally utter those three words and a woman will give of herself before asking God anything. She will participate in spousal activities without being crowned his queen. We all know that sex is a spousal activity. But a PhD, I'm going to say this. If you were in school and you got a PhD, that's the highest degree that you can obtain. They say a PhD is obsolete within 10 years if you do nothing to build upon it. So you obtain your PhD, but there should be some continual learning, because the more that you take into your spirit, the things that you've learned from your PhD get pushed further down and compacted. When you have a compactor, a garbage compactor, I'm not saying that education is garbage, but the new trash covers up the old and it impacts. Okay, you don't even know what you first put in the garbage compactor. You don't even remember the items for the most part because the new items covers it up. You must continue to re-educate yourself. And again, if you do not, they say a PhD is obsolete within 10 years. And this is how the enemy works, because if you stop the education, now your mind takes over. If you stop what's already in here, now your mind, I told you the mind is the door to your spirit, you're starting to use the stuff you get on top. You're starting to reason with the stuff that's on top and not already compacted in your soul. I wish I had somebody to understand. You're dealing with what's here and not here. That's why it's easy for the enemy to suggest things. Eve in the Genesis had stuff impacted in her soul, but the enemy came with a fresh word. Oh, Lord help. You're not with me. The enemy came with a fresh word, planted it right here. Hey, it doesn't say that, that if and he came and misquoted and just everything. All right. There's a reason why the enemy went to Eve and not Adam. It's not a diss. It's not a diss against the women. It's not a diss against y'all. It's listen to me. People might preach that, but it's not a diss. It's actually a compliment, because the enemy knew that Eve is the learning institution. And if I can get Eve, because Adam ain't gonna, he ain't listening. He ain't listening. But he will listen. Oh, whew. Lord have mercy. I might sign off right now. The enemy is saying, I can't talk to Adam, but Adam will listen to the woman. So I'm going to go to the woman because she's the one, oh Lord help me, who's going to educate and get this guy to eat of the fruit. That's why he went to Eve. He went to the learning institution. I'm going to speak to... I don't know if y'all ready for this. I don't know. This is why the enemy said, I'm going to hit and run right here. I'm going to hit it with Eve. I'm going to give her my thing. I'm going to plant it in her mind. And the enemy didn't even stick around. Boom, hit Eve, because sooner or later, that garden, I don't care how big it is. Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't care how big this this garden is, sooner or later, he's got to come to the learning education. He's got to come back to her. And when he comes back to her, she's going to already be planted with the message. Oh, I ain't got to speak to him. I'm going to the woman. Women, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you understand? This is why I'm talking to the women. I could talk to the men all day long. No, none of the men want to hear no more sex. They don't want to hear that. They enjoy it. They don't want to hear it. But sooner or later, the man, no matter how big this earth is, the Garden of Eden, no matter how big it is, at the end of the day, they're going to come to you. So you're the one with the message. You're the one that has to be cooked, completely cooked, no raw bones. You're the one that has to be able to set the parameters and have the change of the. You are the ones. They're the ones that the enemy, the drug dealers of the school at Leon and me, are trying to get into. You're the one that they want to put the graffiti on the inside of the walls. So Dual Victory said, sisters must stop filling voids. You must stop filling your void. Dual, this is awesome. Thank you. You must stop, women, you have to stop filling your voids with pseudo and false promises of the happy ever after. Y'all, we're about to go into another year in 3 weeks. And many of you, 3 weeks, many of you are caught up even in the previous year's promises of a happy ever after. Excuse after excuse after excuse. There comes a time in your life where you have to look at things how they really are. And the excuses, once you've made up your mind, once you decided to lock the doors of the learning institution, the things that the drug dealers have, whatever they're saying from the outside, it no longer matters because you know the reason why you have to lock the doors of the school. Okay? What's really sad is that brothers don't have to work for it anymore. Do you hear this? What's really sad is that brothers don't have to work for it anymore. Brothers these days aren't even promising the happily ever after and the white picket fence. Even if we have to work together to achieve those things, brothers no longer have to make sisters feel secure and protected. And they are promising nothing. And yet, my beloved sisters are giving of their whole heart, mind, and soul, not realizing that these men are merely speaking to the voids in their hearts. And we know that the Word of God says about the heart, it is deceitful and will lead you astray. Ladies, I'm going to tell you something else. Heart, soul, and mind. Many of you, we've heard it in plenty of love songs, and it's a great lyric. Thank you, Jamie. It's a great lyric. But you have no business giving someone your soul. Jesus died to save your soul. Your soul was something that you couldn't save. You couldn't put a price on your soul. Your soul doesn't belong to you. So you can't give someone your soul. The enemy, that's graffiti on the walls. Remember I said lean on me, how they had graffiti on the walls? The graffiti is the false doctrine. What you get in class is the real education. That graffiti on the wall, that it's all right to give your soul to someone, that's out of order. And that's how you get caught up. You sleeping with somebody, you create soul ties, You're giving somebody your soul, and you are locked in. You don't even know why. You can't even hardly get out because you gave somebody your soul. How in the world can you insult the Lord Jesus Christ, who died for you, for your soul, and you're going to give it to somebody? You see what I'm saying? You got no right. That's not your property. Have you ever been when somebody gave away something that didn't belong to them? Maybe you loaned it to somebody, you gave it to somebody, and they gave it to somebody else. That's infuriating. That's like, that wasn't yours to give away. Who told you could give that away? Can't give somebody. The heart is deceitful. Your mind, you shouldn't give somebody your mind. All right? Because your mind, that's the fresh, that's the door to your spirit. Your mind is going to battle and protect what's in the heart, because the heart is deceitful, but it's a mind here where the information starts. So everybody says, I need a fresh word. The fresh word enters into your ears. It starts here. And that, what enters into the mind, now battles and changes the heart. That's how we change. Okay? So if you give somebody your mind, that's your gatekeeper. That's, you've taken the chains off the doors, and now all this corrupt stuff, the heart doesn't have any sense. You can fall in love with a murderer. A heart will make you protect a murderer. A heart will let you protect a thief. Your heart will let you stay in a relationship where you're being physically abused. Your heart will keep you in a horrible relationship. But it's getting that fresh education in the mind to speak to the heart and say, hey, no matter what you're feeling down here, let me tell you what is actually making sense. And again, Genesis, that's why the enemy planted here. It overrode what Eve had in her heart. Lord have mercy. All right. Thank you, she said, Dual Victory saying to me, thank you for telling sisters what I've come to learn and have often shared on our radio show For God, Love, and Romance. Sister, she's saying to you, he's not the one God has for you. I assure you. The one God has for you will never ask you or allow you to give him something that does not belong to him. A man of God will honor you, but more importantly, he will honor God first and foremost. So please honor your temple, chains on the doors, and our Father. And the Father will bless and honor you, my beloved sister. Pastor Cherry, I truly believe the day that when sisters take sex off the table and start participating in and stop participating in spousal activities without being a spouse will be the day men will once again go back to the days of dating and truly courting with a plan and purpose of pursuing his queen. Dual Victory, you just said the whole thing. That's why we have to, she wrote it. This is why we're coming to the women. That's why I'm talking to the women. Because they've got to come to you. And when they come to you, let them find the doors locked. Chains on the doors. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. In the movie Lean on Me, when I say watch this, it's an instant revelation. In the movie Lean on Me, the locks on the doors were faulty. Meaning, or there weren't any locks on the doors. I don't know how they had it, but meaning that you could pull the door and it could open. There was no lock on the door physically. So they added chains around the door. Adding a chain around the door was still not like an actual mechanism in the door that kept the door from being ajar. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. So if you go back and watch the movie, when the drug dealer came to the door partly opened, but not enough for the drug dealer to get inside, but it was open enough for the person who's inside to educate, Lord help, to give them something, to educate, and to speak to those that came. So when they come to you, your door is locked where they can't get anything. But it's open enough where you can start to educate. You can let them know, no, you're not coming in here. And these are the reasons why you're not coming in to my learning institution. But since you can hear me because the door is cracked, open enough, I'm going to give you the principles of what it means to be educated in the Spirit of the living God, and what it means to be educated enough to start to work and change the things inside of you. You're not going to drop off anything in here. The doors are locked. You can't come in here. You can't come inside. But since you come to me, I can talk to you through the cracks of the doors and tell you what you need to learn. I'm locked and I'm keeping myself for marriage. So she said, please know, Pastor Cherry, I do not have a heaven or hell to put any of my sisters in. Lord knows I have been in this state of falsehood. But God, as I write this to you, I praise and thank the Lord, as these are lessons that I no longer need to learn. In closing, I appreciate everything that you do for our sisters for the kingdom of God. I love you with the love of the Lord. Until the appointed time, God bless you real good. Dual Victory, I want to thank you so much for writing this, because this helped me, as you saw, be able to teach. So the reason, you've heard the reason why I'm going to the women. And it's the same reason why the enemy went to Eve. Because sooner or later, the man's going to come to you. And when he comes to you, when he comes to the doors of the school, that's the time when he's going to get his education. He's going to get his education through you. And I want you all to share this video. Let's educate our women. If there were no women out there willing to give their body, it goes right back to what Dual Victory said. That will be the day when men will have to have no other choice. That you're educating them by cutting them off. We've educated our children in the past by cutting them off of certain things. We didn't allow them to have certain things. That's how we educated our children in that way. You know, she said that will be the day when men will once again go back to the days of dating and truly courting with a plan and purpose of pursuing a queen. Every time you sleep with a man, you're doing a man a disservice, because he's not learning anything. And the only thing you're doing is every time you pull down your pants, you pull up your dress, every time you lay down with a man, I don't care how long y'all been together, how much in love y'all are. Every time you do that, you're doing another woman a disservice, because he thinks that is the norm, and that's what he's programming in his spirit. He feels that the only thing I have to do is walk up to the school and she's going to unlock these chains. She got the chains on in church. She wants all the saints to think during it. And some of you are in secret relationships. You sit there in church every week, and there's some really good men who want to talk to you, but you you can't talk to them because you got some secret thing going. This guy don't even go to church with you because he's got somebody else. He's got something else going on, but you loyal to that. Everybody thinks you're single, and you don't appear to be wanting or needing anything. That's because when nobody was looking. When nobody was looking, you unlocked the doors of the school and you let them come in to plant graffiti on the walls of your life. And again, the enemy wants to destroy the family. He destroys it. If he couldn't destroy it through the seed of the man, he's going to destroy it to the one who gives birth. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. Take heed to what I'm saying. Change. If you're living with somebody, get out. Okay? The young lady is a good friend of mine. I'm not coming down on her because she's a friend of mine. She's probably watching now. But I told y'all the other night, this woman's living with a man. She said her boyfriend hates me. He doesn't like my messages. I wonder why. Why doesn't he like my messages? Why does he hate me? He doesn't know me. Why does he hate my message? What am I saying that is wrong? But her living boyfriend hates me. He doesn't like my messages. And when I got to the point at the end of the message, that was this last whatever it was, Friday, he snatched her phone from her and turned it off and threw it. Do you see how serious? The enemy doesn't want you to hear the message. The enemy, as Dorothy Williams said, is a hater of the truth. The enemy doesn't want you to lock the doors. The enemy wants to take from you. So, again, we could have a class all day inviting thieves, robbers, crooks. Say, free seminar. We're going to teach you how to stop robbing and stealing. Nobody's coming to that seminar. No thief in his right mind is coming to that seminar. So what we have to do is get better security systems for the home to keep thieves out. My name is Pastor Darryl Cherry. I want to thank you so much for being with us tonight. I love you all. In Jesus' name, I normally pray out, but I want you tonight, when I close the session down, just say a quick prayer because the prayer is already in the air. I want you to pray. And wherever you are in your spirit, you know where you are. You know where you are in terms of letting people in. You know where you are with your home security system. I know right here in our home right here, I know the strong parts of our security system, and I know the vulnerabilities of the security system in our house. Okay? You know the same thing. You know where a criminal can come in. You know where you have let a criminal come in the past. It's time. It's time now. You've got a fresh word. Allow that word to deal with this nasty heart. The heart